It's the Big Rich Live on the Mike Radio Show here on YouTube. The real news and strong opinions given here. A platform to chop up game with the family, you dig?
What's good with you people? What's good with you? Big Rich here for the Big Rich Live on the Mike Radio Show, and welcome to this Saturday installment of the Big Rich Live on the Mike Radio Show here on YouTube. We're back again. I hope that your weekend has gone pretty well. I know I'm ripping and running. I do a whole bunch of stuff, so I'm actually miffed that I actually forgot about the show today. I literally did. I got home, had some other stuff to do. I didn't even start on going through the pictures and the videos that I took from this photo shoot. Well, actually, it was a basketball tournament. And I'm just chilling, and I totally forgot that it was Saturday, and the Big Rich Live on the Mike Radio Show was supposed to go up today. So, you know, I could have just laid up and be like, I'm not even going to fool with it, but I got to stay on pace. I got stuff to do. I actually got a text from one of my partners when I was actually on my way to this basketball tournament and, was asking me, did I hear about a Orlando police officer being shot at right around near where my office is? And I was like, nope. I was like, well, when did it happen? And she was like 4:30. And I was like, really? So I did my due diligence and stuff. I had to make sure that the person, didn't get hit, or if they did get hit, they didn't die. And then you go with if you knew the person. And then I found out that it wasn't a police officer. It was what we call a courtesy officer, not courtesy officer, community service officer, CSO. But still, whether you're armed or you're not armed, if you're wearing a uniform with the patch of the Orlando Police Department on it, or Orange County Sheriff's Department, or Florida Highway Patrol, we all work together. We have all worked together over the 23 years that I've been there. Your heart bleeds for them, and you have your fingers crossed to make sure that nobody was injured. Then, you have the I'm not ashamed to admit it. Then you have the questions. Oh my goodness. I hope they weren't young African-American, boys out there acting stupid, or other people, these are things that you just have to, you just do, I've never been scared on this platform to admit when I have, certain vices and stereotypes and stuff like that, and I know I'm not the only black person who, when something like this happens, you always wonder, and you hope, you hope just like everybody else that the person didn't die. You hope that the person, if the person was stabbed or ran over or shot, that they live. You have that morality, that you're thinking of, but it's also in the back of your mind, you hoping that they're not African Americans. Well, I was told that they was at first, and then later on, I spoke to a couple of sources, and then the news came out, and the suspects, the alleged suspect is not African American. But I was like, you know what? A lot of people have asked questions and stuff like that about, how do you deal with retribution and why, you have this gang mentality or this narcissistic type demeanor in law enforcement. And I was like, you know what? This is a perfect time for me to bring this up and answer these questions, for me to elaborate on certain things. And first I need to say is that the community service officer was not hurt, was not injured, which, I thank God for that. So when I say this is a perfect time, this is not a time that I'm going to talk about this, after somebody's been killed or maimed, or hurt really bad, that type of stuff right there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the article, and then I'm going to go into a diatribe, really. Go not a rant, but just a monologue, basically explaining, my position on certain things and why I was one of the reasons that I was ready to be retired and that I'm glad that I'm retired. We'll talk about that. But here it is. It says Orlando, Florida, and this was by which news agency is this? The Atlanta Sentinel, I'm assuming. It doesn't say, but we'll just go there, Says a man was arrested early Saturday after Orlando police officer said that the occupants of SUV shot at his patrol car, police said. This is a quote from the police. Community service officer was sitting in his car in front of the OPD substation on Primrose Avenue approximately 4:30 a.m. this morning when he heard multiple gunshots, officers said. Police said the officer then saw a green Ford Explorer seconds later heading south on Primrose near East Colonial Drive. The officer said that the occupants of the Explorer then fired several shots from outside the vehicle and believed they were shooting, and they believed that they were shooting at him. So it's he. Orlando police said he took cover and called for backup. Based on the vehicle description the officer provided, another officer spotted the Explorer while trying to get on State Road 408. That's the East-West Expressway. Anybody know anything about Orlando? At Bumby Avenue, police said. Police followed the SUV until they stopped it on South Orange Blossom Trail, which is probably about 4 miles away from where the shots were fired. Officers said that they found spent shell casings and guns. 3 men were detained, and Eduardo Palacios, 28, was arrested and charged with aggravated assault with a firearm, improper exhibition of a weapon or firearm, and carrying a concealed weapon, according to the arrest report. Bullet hole was found in the fences at the station, police said. The officer was not injured during the incident. Okay, like I said, first, I'm so glad that the CSO was not injured. If you look at the picture that we have up here, dude looked like he might have been high on something. I don't know what the deal is. But if you push that to the side, and because we have no independent evidence that he was high or drunk or whatever, that wasn't in any of the preliminary reports. But when you look at these type of ambushes, imagine someone has that type of audacity to pull up on a police vehicle, a police cruiser, and it's 4:30 in the morning, so it's dark, so they don't see community service officer on it. They just see Orlando police. And even if you did see community service officer, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's not an active police officer. You don't know. The average citizen doesn't know that. You know what I'm saying? So just imagine the audacity, the unmitigated gall for somebody to pull up and basically do a drive-by shooting on a police cruiser. This, and again, I know some people going to say, you're reaching, you're embellishing, but if you say that, you're not looking at the big picture. You have your eyes. You do not have your eyes open. You have blinders on. You're a sheep. Stuff like this, what was it, 2 weeks ago in New York? A deranged or mentally ill brother who thought that the police was after him, ambushed and killed a female officer. What, last year, while sitting in a car, an Asian officer and a white officer, I think it was, or Asian officer and a black officer, I can't remember. Please forgive me for butchering that. They were ambushed by somebody. If I had to put money on it, I would say that stuff like this is a direct reflection of all of these videos that come out showing police officers, or some people want to say they're not police officers, they're race soldiers, posing as police officers, brutalizing the least of these, the impoverished neighborhood. Most of them are black and brown, and not getting convicted, not even getting charged. A lot of them don't even get disciplined within the department. You can, if you look at history, let's just look at history, right? I'm talking about go all the way back to the Roman days when they was the biggest and the baddest. You know, go back with the Egyptians and you go further. You can brutalize, whether true or not, you can brutalize an impoverished, weak, little mass of people indefinitely, as long as everybody don't know about it. But when people start learning it, when they start seeing it, when it starts slapping them in their face over and over and over and over, it becomes sort of like Beirut. It becomes sort of like Palestine. The Palestinians know that they can't defeat the Israelis with just prayers and sticks and stones. But that doesn't stop them from doing pot shots at the Israelis every now and again. That doesn't, Hamas, Al-Qaeda, they know that they can't destroy the United States or Europe, but that doesn't stop them from making little small pot shots. I used to tell my recruits when I was training, this job is an honor. It is not a right. It is a privilege to serve people, to serve all people. I said, but what you got to realize is, I think it was like 2010 when I told them this. No, it couldn't have been, because I was in training from 1999 to 2005. So I used to tell them that there's roughly about 500,000 law enforcement officers in this country. Do you know there's almost 300 million people in this country? So even if you had each 500,000 had 20 guns, you still are outnumbered 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 to 1. So be mindful of what you do or what you say to people. Be mindful of that type of stuff. Don't take it personal. Be mindful of everything that you do and you say, because you never know how things will come back up on you. Or if you're somebody who does everything right, imagine you catch a bullet, or you get injured, or you have something because of something else that somebody else did. You got to start thinking about it, because it's going to get worse. And you see more and more of these type of ambushes happening. People are going to get to the point where it's like, you know what? Enough is enough. Enough is enough. And when they see you jump, they are certain. I'm not jumping around, but there are places, I know personally, there are places within this country, in this nation, that cops will not go by themselves. They know what the deal is. They just won't do it, because people have gotten to the point where they don't give a damn no more. When you are at the point where you feel that you have nothing else to lose, nothing. You've taken everything away from me. I cannot escape this barrel. And you have been put in the position to hold the cover of the barrel. So I can't get out. So I got to get you, because I can't get them. I'm not afraid to admit this. Anybody who knows and listens to this channel knows that I had cancer last year. So last year, I wasn't able to go on the street. But I'm talking about the year before that. I used to have thoughts, especially after Mike Brown, then after Eric Garner got choked to death on video, and then they let him lay there and basically die like a dog when he's talking about he can't breathe, and they're just sitting around him. When you look at Michael Slager, who shoots an unarmed fleeing man 6 times in the back on video, then you see him later on in the video appear to plant evidence next to the dead body. And again, no medical attention was what was administered. They treated him like a dog. When you see stuff like that, and then you see that Michael Slager had a mistrial. When you see, I don't even know, the guy who shot the guy in Cincinnati, he's had 2 mistrials. When you see that type of stuff, we just had, what, in Texas or Louisiana? You know, this race soldier shoots a brother who was messing with his wife in the back and then stands over him and executes him. And nothing happens, at least not now. You know, somebody just sent me a news thing that I want to say was in LA. They sent me this clip. I guess there was an investigation launched against this officer who possibly used unnecessary and excessive force on a unarmed homeless, I don't know if it was a man or a woman. I don't know. You really can't see it. And it was closed. I don't know if it was not sustained. It was just closed until the closed circuit TV, the videotape comes out, and it shows that he is beating this person like they was a dog. I mean, whipping them like, you know, like they were just going crazy. Now the investigation is opening up again. And then again, some people are like, the only reason you open this up again is because you got egg on your face, because y'all closed this before. Y'all no-billed it, if you will. You see this type of stuff. I used to think, I was like, man, I don't want to catch a bullet for some bullshit that somebody else did. You know, call me selfish, whatever you might want to call it or whatever, but that's just how I felt. And I bet you, I can't even say I bet you. I know there are a lot of officers that are at that now. I mean, I've been retired for about 8 months. And there are so many officers that I've trained, you know, worked with, whatever, who are coming up close to retirement. They like, dude, I'm getting out. I'm getting out. I'm just trying to keep my nose clean. I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm trying to get out of this. Because they understand. And the thing is this. When people say that there are good police officers, you excuse my French, you goddamn right. They're good police officers. They're great police officers. I was a very good police officer. There are plenty good, God-fearing, passionate officers on there. But those officers, including myself, knew or know officers that are bad apples. For people to sit up there and be like, oh, we didn't know that this person was a bad apple, or we didn't know that this person was a racist, I throw the bullshit flag, because I knew who the racist and biggest was in my agency. You just stayed away from them. You just knew. You knew it. Somebody said something and said something to somebody, and this was overheard, and this, that, and the third. You hear it. Cops are very intelligent. They know. We know. We know. So I got to the point where, as I was starting to get conscious and just realizing what was going on, I was like, dude, I'm not trying to get killed for some bullshit that somebody else did that shouldn't never been a police officer in the first place. So stuff like this, you know, you have to really analyze it, and you can't just, I really hope that my agency, other agencies, don't sit around here and just throw this out as, oh, well, this person was just a one-off shoot, you know, or this person was just crazy or depressed or whatever. That very well might be true. But there is a ancillary, there's an underlying reason why people are like this. It's going to get worse. Because I tell you what aggravates people, at least people who talk to me, who know I've been a police officer, who talk to me. Even when I was on the street, they would talk to me. What bothers them is as soon as an allegation is out on a police officer, the machine, the blue lives matter machine closes ranks and everybody else be damned. It then becomes us versus them mentality. I understand that as a chief of police, as a sheriff, as a commander, I think it's a commandant. I think that's who the state trooper or Florida Highway Patrol, I think he's a commandant or something like that, right? I understand that there is a method behind the madness, and you need to always make sure that your troops feel and know that you have their backs. But there are ways that you can say that to make sure that it doesn't look like you're just turning a blind eye. And basically what it is say, look, this is what I was told. Based on what I'm told, this is how I feel at this particular moment. An investigation will continue. If there is something that comes out that contradicts what I know right now, then I will act accordingly. That's how you do it. You don't sit around there and the officer did everything right. You sure? You sure? Just like a couple of months ago, in Georgia, these guys, somebody called the police, house party, they get there, some idiot is walking around with a rifle instead of his service revolver. I have no idea. There was no gunshots that he knew of. He then tells a car to stop. The car pulls off. He then draws down, shoots, and kills, I want to say, a 15-year-old honor student that was in the backseat, something like that. Then that night, it was either that night or the next moment, the police chief of that agency gets on and say, "Hey, everybody did what they were supposed to do." And then he saw the videotape, and come to find out that dude was lying from the word jump. So then he has to come on and he has to apologize. And again, people are not listening to your apology. The people that are in the affected realm, in the affected community, they're not listening to that. They have turned you off. So to alleviate that, you then say, look, this is a tragic accident. I'm not even going to say accident. This is a tragic event that we are investigating to the best of our abilities. I was told this, if you want to explain what you was told, or I was told what I will not repeat. I was told by the officer and the officer in charge, this is what happened. And from what they say, it fits policy. Okay? However, the investigation is not complete. And if something comes out that contradicts that, we will act accordingly. But you have this macho mentality that, I'm going, these are my troops. These are my people. He may or may have not hired that particular police officer or was friends with that police officer or rode with that police officer or whatever it might have been. So he has a certain affinity to that officer. But you just can't really do it. And we need to really take a step back and realize they gonna see us before we see them. That's what I used to tell people. I was like, do not get it twisted. Think about it. Unless you just driving around doing your routine patrol, you have been called to that particular address, that particular intersection. You was called. You're driving up in a big ass cruiser, okay? Even if you on foot patrol or on bike or bike officer, whatever, you still got that big light ass uniform. You are a walking target. You have no idea. Grandma across the street got a 30-06 or 22 pointing at the back of your head when you get out of your car. You have no idea. You have no idea. So we have to be in a position to, and you see, I say we, I've been retired, but it's still we. You should be in a position that you have to realize that you got to watch what you do with people. Calm as a bitch in all ways. I mean, you know, we got to be better than that. And that leads me into my last critique, if you will. Couple of states, Louisiana did it last year, but other states, Louisiana did the hate crime thing, which anybody who's worth the salt, and I am not a lawyer, but I hang out and know enough lawyers to realize that as soon as that's put on somebody, it's going to be appealed, excuse me, and it will be overturned, because to be charged with a hate crime, you must be a affected group. You know, and it's usually race, religion, sexual orientation. Okay? It don't say anything about agencies and cops. So anyway, I digress. But New Jersey had, they just passed a law that kids are going to be taught in school how to interact with the police. And other states are trying to adopt certain things like that. Let me just say this. When you have an encounter, a police officer and a child, who's the adult? The police officer. Who's trained? The police officer. Who's supposed to be the professional? The police officer. Who has the experience? The police officer. So what you're trying to tell me is you expect a child to be the adult in this scenario. No. When they sent that to me, I replied to her. I was like, okay, if that's what you do, that's fine. But when are you going to enact the law to make sure that police officers know how to interact with the people who they serve? Okay, if you want to have it in a curriculum for kids to learn how to interact with police officers, then you should have that same curriculum and make it mandatory that police officers have to learn how to deal with other people in public. But no, you don't want to do that. So again, you don't want to do that. So basically what you're saying is you want the child to be the adult in that scenario. How many times have we seen video upon video upon video upon video of my brother and sister officers acting like the child, yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs, cussing like pirates, treating kids like adults? You know, there was a video, about 7 months ago, 2 NYPD officers are walking behind these African-American kids, basically daring them to do something, chastising them. Dude, are you not an adult? Are these not kids? You know, I've heard from a few of cops who I've worked with, and they're like, dang, man, you need to lay off. No, I don't need to lay off, because I don't sit up here and blast people for no reason. But Reverend Barber said this in a speech he gave last month. Sometimes it is not left or right. It's not conservative or liberals. It's not black and white. It's right and wrong. Sometimes things are just wrong. Sometimes you're just wrong. And police officers, we are trained. We know better. A lot of us are college educated. We know better. We should be held to that standard. Period. And last time I checked, words is just words. We tell that to our kids all the time. Hey, Johnny across the street called me the N-word, or well, not the N-word, but called me a B, or this, that, and the third. what are the overwhelming majority people? Because I know there's some people say, man, go kick her ass, but anyway, what do we tell you? Words can't hurt you, but yet still what we're saying is when you cuss out a cop or whatever and he beats you upside the head, he or she beats you upside the head or whatever, come on now. I mean, San Diego. And again, I'm not shitting on my people, but it is what it is. Facts is fact. Google it. San Diego just had a white male police officer and a white female police officer walk up on, they look Hispanic to me, but maybe it was dark Hispanic or maybe it was a white person and a black person, whatever. They were sitting in the truck in front of this Caucasian gentleman's house. He just happened to be looking out the window and he hears all the commotion. So he grabs his phone and he starts recording because he's hearing all sorts of inflammatory stuff that the police officer is saying to these two individuals in the car. And you can hear this plain as day. The white officer then calls the driver the N-word. And I will fucking kill you. You understand me? Really? This is the type of stuff that goes on. I mean, 2 days ago, a video went viral. This canine officer could not get his dog off of this suspect. Now, I want to say when I was growing up, but when I was growing up in the police department, there were things that you could not do when a person was handcuffed. You could not use your spray. You could not use your baton. You could not taser the person because they were, in all intensive purposes, detained, arrested. There was really nothing they could do. So you ask yourself, why is this African-American suspect laying on his belly with his hands handcuffed behind his back and he is being chewed on by a canine dog while his handler is trying to get him off? And then you hear other officers tell him to be quiet. Really? Dude, I've seen officers get bit by those canines and they scream like babies also. It hurts. Okay? It hurts. And then there's some other cats that sat around and was mad because probably about 15 to 20 seconds in it, you get some want to protect these race soldiers. Male civilian just walks in and just stands in front of the guy so he couldn't record. Now this is the type of stuff that makes you wonder about people. It really does. It makes you wonder, these people actually think that what's going on is deserved. Because if you didn't think that this was deserved, if you was just a regular citizen that had compassion, why would you stand in front of somebody who was filming this so they couldn't film it? This wasn't another cop. This wasn't a fire person. This wasn't an ambulance driver that was, hey man, get back. We need, nothing. This was a private citizen. Now, me and that private citizen would have had words. Had he or she did that to me, it would not have gone down the way it went down, where the guy just moved to the front of the car to get from in front of the guy that was standing in front of his line of sight. And by the time he got around the other side, the dog was off, and it is what it is. The video ended. But there's a lot of stuff going on. And the thing is, I know I started this and I went off, I took a hard left and then went off on a slight tangent. But all of this stuff that comes out, this is just fueling people's anger and in despair. Social media has blew the lid off. I tell people, it's funny. It's funny. Last year, people used to be like, you know, because you had the Philando Castile, you had the Alton Sterling, you know, we already mentioned the Michael Slager case, you know, Eric Garner, Mike Brown. I've already mentioned all of those. And I remember somebody came up to me and was like, dude, I don't mean no harm, but what the hell happened to the police? Why is the police going crazy all of a sudden? I was like, dude, see, that's the problem. You didn't know. This shit has been going on since the beginning of the whole law enforcement agency building, when cops were the slave patrol. It's always, but the fact of the matter is, it never came out. The mainstream media goes out of their way to not publicize it. Do you think, I mean, let's just be real. Do you believe the people over at Fox Studios, Fox News, MSNBC, TV One, CNN, HLN, do you actually believe that they dumb enough to not know that this shit is happening? They know exactly what's happening, but they feel it's worked for them all this time, out of sight, out of mind. If we don't report it, or if we don't report it, it didn't happen. And even if we had to report it, well, one little excerpt and that's it. We don't even worry about it. Rodney King was a little bit different. It's kind of hard for that to not go through. And then you think about anybody who I'm dating myself, but anybody who knows the first trial in Simi Valley, those cops were acquitted. The federal government had to come back and get their behind, and then they convicted them all. But they were acquitted. So that means that there were people in Simi Valley who saw that video and blamed Rodney King for the beating, that he deserved it, that nothing that they did was wrong. So you get to a position where it's like, we need to really reevaluate things. You really do. And I said this before. I don't even know if it was on this show. It might have been on What's the Real Deal. If you was to really do an autopsy after, in 2007, 2010, FBI says that law enforcement has been inundated, has been infiltrated by white supremacists in the Klan. If you do that autopsy, I know this might be on the high end, but I would believe half the officers that are current officers would have to quit. And maybe a quarter to a half of them would probably be put on some type of charges. So something needs to be done, really. Something needs to be done. And like I said before, I really hope that my agency and other agencies don't have a head in the sand approach and think that this is a one-off and look at the big picture and string, just because this is the first time it happened here in Orlando. Look what just happened a couple of weeks ago in New York. Look what happened in LA. You know, these type of things here. Look what happened in Dallas, Louisiana, that type of stuff right there. These are not one-offs. They are coming to a spear of a problem that is going to affect this nation for years to come. See, you think about it. We've always maintained strong relationship with Canada and Mexico. We have two of the largest bodies of water on this marble that we call a globe to protect our left and right flanks. We have never had war here in this nation, and probably will never have war in this nation as a street by street type fight. But little pot shots and stuff like that, you very well might have that if something is not changed, if it's not addressed, if marginalized people are not given some type of hope, some type of understanding, some type of footing. this is only going to get worse. You know, and God help us all, really. So that's going to be it for this here. I sure appreciate you guys sitting down here with me. Hey, do me a favor. Give me the thumbs up if you like it. Thumbs down if you don't. Hey, no skin off my back. Either way, let me know what's going on. Drop me a comment down below the video. Remember to follow us on our social media platforms. You saw them all along the bottom here, so you know what to call us. Make sure you call the radio. And I should have said this beforehand. The 1-800 number is 1-800-591-4548. That's 1-800-591-4548. Drop us a line, leave us a question, leave us a comment, and we'll put it definitely on the air for you. So in the meantime, in between time, stay blessed, stay safe, stay woke. Peace. Your boy out.